Do you know what I discovered about Leos that deeply moved me? I realized something that goes far beyond what any ordinary horoscope can explain. There's a spiritual reason, a divine truth that explains why Leo receives such special care from the universe, why blessings seem to multiply in the life of this sign in such impressive ways. And what if I told you that God looks upon Leo with a special affection, not by chance, but for a sacred purpose written in the stars since the beginning of time? Today you will discover 9 profound spiritual truths that reveal exactly why Leo is so loved, so protected, and so blessed by divine force. And listen, I need to tell you something important. If you are a Leo or have someone dear to you who is a Leo, pay close attention to every word in this video, because what I'm going to share here will make you finally understand why certain things happen in Leo's life in an almost miraculous way. These truths I'm about to reveal aren't just common astrological characteristics. No. This goes much deeper. We're talking about spiritual qualities that connect Leo directly to the heart of the Creator, to the purest essence of divine love. And when you understand these 9 truths, you'll realize it's not luck, it's not chance, it's not undeserved privilege. It's something much greater, something that was planted in the Leo soul even before you were born. So take a deep breath, open your heart, and come with me on this spiritual journey that will touch your soul in a way you never imagined. Truth 1. Leo carries the divine flame of creation in its heart. The first spiritual truth that explains why Leo is so beloved by God is so powerful that when you fully understand it, it will change your entire perspective on this sign. Leo was born with the spark of the sacred fire of creation within their heart. This is not an empty metaphor. It is a profound spiritual reality that manifests itself in concrete ways in the lives of Leos. When God created the universe, He used the energy of sacred fire, that primordial force that transforms nothingness into something grand, that illuminates the darkness, that warms where there is cold. And a part of that divine flame was deposited especially in the hearts of those born under the sign of Leo. That is why you, Leo, feel this intense need to create, to shine, to leave your mark on the world. It is not vanity, as many superficially judge. It is a divine calling that pulsates within you. This divine flame manifests itself through the Leo's creativity, which seems to have no limits. When Leo gets involved in any project, it seems that everything comes to life, gains color, gains meaning. This happens because there is a direct connection between Leo's creative energy and the original source of all creation. The universe recognizes this energetic signature and responds by opening paths, facilitating opportunities, and placing the right people on the right path. But there's something even deeper in all of this. This divine flame that Leo carries isn't just for their own benefit. It exists to warm others, to illuminate dark paths, to inspire those who have lost hope. When you observe a Leo in their element, doing what they love, shining naturally, you realize there's a contagious effect. The people around them begin to believe more in themselves. They begin to see possibilities where before they only saw limitations. That is why God loves Leo so much. Because this sign fulfills a fundamental role in the divine plan, to be a beacon of light amidst human darkness. Every time a Leo raises their head with dignity even after a fall, every time they continue to believe when everyone says it's impossible, every time they refuse to let their inner flame go out, they are honoring the divine gift they received at birth. And look how interesting. This divine flame never completely goes out in Leo, no matter how difficult the times may be. It may diminish temporarily, it may seem weak at times, but it always shines again with full force. Do you know why? Because it is directly connected to the eternal source, to the sacred fire that never dies. God does not allow this light to be extinguished because He knows how much the world needs it, how much people need this living example of courage and faith. When you understand that you carry this divine flame, Leo, your responsibility changes completely. You realize that you are not here just to live your small hidden life. You have a greater mission, to be a living example of God's creative power manifested on earth. And this is so special, so sacred, that it perfectly explains why divine love for Leo is so intense and constant. Truth 2. Leo reflects the infinite generosity of the Creator. The second spiritual truth that shows God's special love for Leo is directly linked to one of the most beautiful qualities of this sign: boundless generosity. And when I speak of Leo's generosity, I'm not just talking about material gifts or obvious gestures. I'm talking about a generosity that comes from the soul, which is a direct reflection of divine abundance. Leo was created in the image and likeness of God's infinite generosity. Just as the Creator pours out blessings on everyone without distinction, without expecting anything in return, Leo has that same natural inclination to give, to share, to make others happy. This is not a coincidence. It's not just a personality trait. It's a spiritual mark that God placed in the Leo essence. Observe how a true Leo behaves when they have something good. They can't keep it to themselves. There's an inner urgency, an almost irresistible calling to share that joy, that achievement, that special moment with the people they love. Even when they don't have much, Leo gives what they have. Even when going through difficulties, Leo finds a way to help those who are worse off. This Leo-like generosity goes beyond material things. Leo gives genuine attention, quality time, and encouragement when everyone else has given up on someone. Leo is that friend who celebrates your victories as if they were their own, who defends you when you're not around, who believes in you even when you've stopped believing in yourself. This is a direct reflection of divine generosity that doesn't measure, doesn't calculate, doesn't take into account what it will receive in return. And you know what's even more incredible? The more Leo gives, the more he receives. Not because he's making calculated exchanges, but because there's a spiritual law that God established. What you give with a pure heart returns multiplied. And since Leo has this naturally generous heart, he lives in a constant cycle of giving and receiving blessings. It's as if the universe conspires to keep Leo always replenished, always able to continue being this channel of divine generosity. But there's an important detail here that many people don't realize. God loves Leo not only because he is generous, but because this generosity is authentic. It comes from a pure place. Leo can't show off, can't manipulate, can't expect public recognition. When Leo truly helps someone, he does so because there is an inner need to alleviate the suffering of others, to multiply joy, to be an instrument of good. How many times have you seen a Leo sacrifice their own comfort to ensure the well-being of others? How many times have you witnessed a Leo give up something they desperately wanted to give someone else an opportunity? This happens constantly because it's programmed into the spiritual nature of this sign. And God looks upon this with immense love, with profound approval, because he recognizes his own essence manifested through Leo. Leo's generosity also manifests itself through forgiveness. A lion may roar loudly when hurt, may withdraw when betrayed, but deep within that enormous heart lies an impressive capacity for forgiveness, for giving second chances, for believing in people's transformation. This is spiritual generosity at its highest level, and it is exactly the kind of generosity that God practices with us every day. Truth 3. Leo was chosen to lead with his heart. The third spiritual truth that reveals why God loves Leo so much has to do with something that is often misunderstood: Leo's leadership. But I want you to understand that when we talk about Leo as a leader, we are not talking about domination, control, or an inflated ego. We are talking about a leadership that comes from the heart, that was planted by God for a very specific sacred purpose. From the beginning of creation, God established that it would be necessary to have people willing to stand in the forefront, to pave the way, to guide others through difficulties. And Leo was chosen especially for this mission because he possesses a unique combination of spiritual qualities: courage, vision, compassion, and inner strength. Not everyone can carry this kind of responsibility without being corrupted by power, without losing their humanity in the process. Leo's leadership is different from all others because it comes with a deep sense of responsibility for those being led. Leo doesn't want to command just to give orders, to feel superior. Leo leads because he feels in his heart that he needs to protect, that he needs to guide, that he needs to use his strength to open doors for those who cannot do it alone. It is a leadership of service disguised as royalty, and that is beautiful in the eyes of God. When you observe a Leo in a position of true leadership, not just title-based leadership but leadership that transforms lives, you notice something special. There is a genuine concern for everyone's well-being. There is a willingness to sacrifice personal comfort to ensure the group progresses. There is an ability to see the potential in each person and work to ensure that potential is fully realized. God loves this about Leo. He loves that this sign has received the courage to stand on the front lines, but has maintained the humility to recognize that true leadership is about uplifting others, not about elevating oneself at the expense of others. This is a crucial distinction that separates Leos who truly fulfill their divine purpose from those who are still learning to use their gifts appropriately. Leadership through the heart means that Leo makes decisions considering not only cold logic, not only numbers, but the human impact of each choice. It means that Leo cares about individual stories, particular pains, and the specific dreams of each person under their influence. And when you lead like this, when you put your heart first without losing the strength needed to move forward, you are manifesting the essence of divine leadership. There is something more that needs to be said about this truth. Leo was spiritually prepared to endure the loneliness that sometimes comes with leadership. It is not always easy to be the one who makes the tough decisions, who needs to be strong when everyone else is weak, who needs to believe when everyone else has lost faith. But God gave Leo this inner structure, this spiritual backbone that sustains him even in the darkest moments. And do you know what happens when Leo fully embraces this mission of leading with his heart? Miracles begin to happen. Doors open in inexplicable ways. Resources appear out of nowhere. The right people show up at the exact moment. Because when you are aligned with your divine purpose, when you are using your gifts in the way God planned, the whole universe conspires in your favor. And that, my friend, is one of the greatest demonstrations of love that the Creator can give to someone. If this message resonated with your zodiac sign, trust me, it's no coincidence. When the universe wants to speak to you, it sends exactly the right signal. And you're here because you needed to hear this today. Your contribution as a subscriber or member is what keeps these messages alive. Messages that touch, awaken, and transform lives. And if this video made sense to you, leave your birth date in the comments. Now let's continue with our video. Truth 4. Leo possesses unwavering faith that moves mountains. The fourth spiritual truth that explains God's special love for Leo is something that transcends any rational explanation. We are talking about a faith that does not bend before the storms, a trust in the divine that remains firm even when all the evidence points to the contrary. And this Leo faith is not blind. It is a conscious faith, a daily choice to believe that there is a higher power orchestrating everything for good. Leo was born with a very particular spiritual gift, the ability to keep hope alive even in the most impossible situations. While other signs may be overwhelmed by difficult circumstances, while many give up when things don't go as planned, Leo continues to believe, continues to declare victory even in the midst of battle, continues to see possibilities where others only see obstacles. And this is not stubbornness, it is not denial of reality. It is genuine faith manifested in action. Leo's unwavering faith stems from a very deep connection with the divine, established at the moment of birth. It's as if God whispered in every Leo's ear, "You will never be alone. You will always have my support. You will always have the strength to rise again." And Leo took this so seriously, internalized it so deeply, that this certainty became part of their spiritual makeup. Observe how Leo behaves in the face of adversity. He may be temporarily sad, he may cry bitter tears at times, but there is always an inner voice that says, "This will pass, you will overcome, better days are coming." This voice is faith in action. It is divine trust manifesting through the Leo consciousness. And when you live with this constant faith, when you truly believe that you are protected and supported by a higher power, your whole life changes. God loves this Leo-like faith because it honors divine power. When you continue to believe even without seeing, when you maintain trust even without visible guarantees, you are saying to the universe, "I trust you, I know you have a greater plan, I know everything will fall into place in due time." And this attitude of absolute faith opens spiritual portals, releasing blessings that were waiting only for this demonstration of trust. But there's something even more impressive about Leo's faith. It's not just individual, it's contagious. When a Leo maintains faith in difficult situations, when they refuse to be overcome by despair, they automatically inspire everyone around them. People look at Leo and think, "If they can believe amidst all this, then I can too." And so the faith of one Leo ends up multiplying, strengthening the faith of dozens or even hundreds of other people. This faith also manifests itself through the Leo's persistence. Leos don't give up easily because they have an inner certainty that if they keep trying, if they keep believing, if they keep giving their best, the universe will respond. And you know what's most fascinating? This confidence ends up becoming a self-fulfilling prophecy. Because when you act with genuine faith, when your actions reflect your unwavering belief, you create such powerful energy that it literally attracts solutions, opportunities, and miracles. How many stories have you heard of Leos who managed to achieve things that everyone said were impossible? How many times have you seen a Leo transform a desperate situation into a resounding victory, simply because they refuse to stop believing. This happens constantly, not by luck, not by privilege, but because there is a spiritual law at work. True faith moves mountains, parts seas, and knocks down walls. And God looks upon this Leo's faith with immense pride. It's as if he thinks, this one understood, this one grasped the essence of divine trust. And when God recognizes this authentic faith, he cannot help but respond with abundant blessings, constant protection, and unconditional love. Because Leo's faith honors the power of the Creator, and the Creator honors those who honor him in such a beautiful way. Truth 5. Leo carries an inner light that dispels the darkness. The fifth spiritual truth that reveals why Leo is so beloved by God is related to something profoundly mystical and powerful: the inner light that this sign carries. I'm not talking about a vague metaphor here. I'm talking about a real spiritual luminosity that Leo naturally emanates, and that has the power to transform environments, situations, and even destinies. When God created Leo, he implanted a spark of divine light within that sign. It is the same light that was present at the creation of the world, the same luminous energy that dispels all darkness, that warms all coldness, that reveals all hidden truth. And this light is not there merely for decoration. It has a very specific spiritual function: to be a beacon in the darkness of the world, to be a point of reference for those who are lost, to be a source of hope for those who are desperate. Have you ever noticed how the presence of a genuine Leo completely changes the energy of a room? How the room seems lighter, more cheerful, more full of life when Leo enters. This isn't just superficial charisma, it's not just a striking personality. It's spiritual light manifesting in a concrete way. It's luminous energy altering the vibrational frequency of the surrounding space. This inner light has a very special power. It dispels spiritual darkness. And when I speak of darkness, I'm referring to all the negative energies that try to approach people, to difficult situations that seem unsolvable, to moments when everything seems dark and hopeless. The light of Leo has the ability to penetrate this darkness, to create clarity where there was confusion, to bring peace where there was turbulence. God deeply loves this leonine light because it fulfills a fundamental role in the spiritual balance of the world. For every person who carries darkness, there needs to be someone who carries light. For every energy that pulls down, there needs to be a force that lifts. And Leo was specifically chosen to be the bearer of this transformative light, this energy that cannot be extinguished by any circumstance. But here's something every Leo needs to understand: that inner light needs to be nurtured, it needs to be fed, it needs to be protected. It doesn't go out easily, but it can weaken if you stray too far from your spiritual essence, if you start living a life that isn't aligned with your deepest values. It's like a campfire that needs constant fuel. Your connection to the divine, your spiritual practices, your pursuit of inner growth are the fuel that keeps that light shining brightly. The Leo light also has a very interesting characteristic. It reveals truths. When you are near a Leo who is connected to their spiritual essence, lies become obvious, masks fall, illusions crumble. Not because Leo is actively trying to unmask someone, but simply because the natural light they emanate makes everything clearer. And this can be uncomfortable for those who live a life of falsehood, but it is liberating for those who seek truth. Often, Leos don't even realize the impact their inner light has on those around them. You might just be being yourself, living your life, shining naturally, and have no idea how many lives you're touching, how many souls you're inspiring, how many hearts you're warming. But God sees all of that. He sees every time your light helps someone find their way, every time your luminous presence brings renewed hope, every time your positive energy transforms a bad moment into something bearable. And here's the most beautiful part: the more you share this light, the more it grows. Unlike material things that diminish when divided, spiritual light multiplies when offered to others. Every time you use your luminous energy to help someone, to inspire someone, to uplift someone, you are strengthening your own inner light. It's a virtuous cycle that God established specifically for Leo. Shine for others and you will shine even more brightly. Truth 6. Leo was blessed with unbeatable inner strength. The sixth spiritual truth that shows why God loves Leo so much has to do with something at the heart of the Leo essence. An inner strength that seems limitless, a spiritual resilience that impresses even the heavens. And when I speak of strength, I'm not just talking about physical strength or a dominant personality. I'm talking about a fortress of the soul that was carefully built by the Creator himself. Leo was forged in the sacred fire of creation with a specially reinforced spiritual structure. It's as if God knew that this sign would face immense challenges, that it would have to carry heavy responsibilities, that it would need to repeatedly rise after painful falls. So he placed within Leo a kind of strength that does not break, that does not bend, that does not surrender even in the face of the most severe trials. This inner strength of Leo manifests itself in many ways. First, through the impressive ability to recover from devastating situations. While many people need years to overcome a loss, a betrayal, a painful failure, Leo manages to process the pain, learn from the experience, and get back on their feet relatively quickly. Not because the pain is less, not because the suffering isn't real, but because there is a restorative force constantly operating within the Leo soul. God planted in Leo a seed of divine resilience that germinates especially in the darkest moments. When all seems lost, when circumstances are overwhelming, when there is no visible way out, that is precisely when this inner strength awakens with full intensity. It's as if the Leo spirit has an automatic mechanism that says, "Now is the time to show what you're made of, now is the time to prove your true strength, now is the time to roar louder than ever." But there is something profoundly spiritual happening here that goes beyond simple willpower. This inner strength of Leo is directly connected to the divine source of all power. It is a borrowed strength, a strength that comes from above, a strength that constantly renews itself because it is connected to the infinite. This means that no matter how many times Leo needs to use this strength, it never completely runs out. It may temporarily diminish when the Leo is very tired or disconnected from their essence, but it always returns. God loves to see Leo using that inner strength for noble purposes. When you use your spiritual fortitude to defend the weak, to keep fighting for your dreams even when everyone says it's impossible, to maintain your integrity even under intense pressure, you are honoring the divine gift you received. And every time you do that, you are becoming even stronger, you are further developing that spiritual muscle. There's a very interesting aspect to this Leo's strength. It inspires others to find their own strength. When people see a Leo facing a storm with their head held high, when they observe Leo refusing to be a victim of circumstances, when they witness this courage in action, something awakens within them. They begin to think, if he can do it, maybe I can too. And so the strength of one Leo ends up multiplying strength in dozens of other lives. This inner strength also manifests itself through Leo's ability to make difficult decisions. Many people become paralyzed when faced with complicated choices, when there is much at stake, when a mistake could be costly. But Leo, connected to this inner divine strength, can access a clarity, a certainty, a courage to decide even amidst uncertainty. And often these decisions, made based on this spiritual strength, end up being the best possible. God didn't give Leo all that strength for nothing. He knew that strong people would be needed to hold things together when everything was falling apart, to be a point of reference when everyone was lost, to carry hope when despair threatened to take over. And Leo accepts this responsibility, carries this weight, fulfills this mission not because it's easy, but because there's something inside him that simply can't do otherwise. And you know what's even more impressive? Even when Leo is broken inside, even when battling his own demons, even when at the limit of his strength, he still manages to find hidden reserves to help someone in need. That's divine strength in action. A supernatural ability to keep giving even when you think you have nothing left to give. And that, my friend, is one of the most powerful reasons why God's love for Leo is so deep and unconditional. Truth 7. Leo was created to be a living example of dignity. The seventh spiritual truth that explains God's special love for Leo is related to something extremely noble and necessary in the world: dignity. Leo was created to be a living model of how to remain dignified in all circumstances, how to preserve one's honor even when life tries to bring you down, how to walk with your head held high regardless of the storms you are facing. When God planned to create a sign that would represent dignity in its purest form, he thought of Leo. And he didn't choose that name by chance. The lion in nature is known as the king of the jungle not only for its physical strength, but for the majestic posture it maintains in any situation. Even when wounded, even when tired, even when defeated in a specific battle, the lion never loses that aura of royalty. And this has been spiritually transferred to those born under this sign. Leo's dignity is not arrogance, it's not empty pride, it's not false superiority. It's something much deeper and more spiritually significant. It's the awareness of one's own worth as a divine creation. It's the understanding that you were made in the image and likeness of the Creator and therefore deserve respect, deserve to be treated with consideration, deserve to walk through this world with your head held high. This awareness doesn't make Leo better than others, but it makes him firm in not accepting less than he deserves. God loves this leonine dignity because it is a reflection of divine dignity itself. When Leo refuses to lower himself, when he doesn't accept crumbs when he deserves the full feast, when he doesn't submit to humiliating situations even under pressure, he is saying, I know who I am, I know where I came from, I know my worth. And this affirmation of spiritual identity is music to divine ears. But here's something crucial that every Leo needs to understand. Maintaining dignity doesn't mean never bowing down, never being humble, never acknowledging mistakes. On the contrary, true Leo dignity includes the ability to ask for forgiveness when wrong, to recognize limitations when they exist, to accept help when needed. The difference is that Leo does all this without losing their sense of self-worth, without self-deprecation, without placing themselves in a position of inferiority. This dignity manifests itself in very practical ways in the life of a Leo. In the way Leo ends relationships that don't value him without resentment but with firmness. In the way he leaves jobs that don't respect his talent without drama, but with clarity. In the way he sets boundaries with people who try to abuse his generosity, without aggression, but with determination. Every time you act like this, Leo, you are being a living example of what it means to walk with dignity. God sees every moment you choose to maintain your dignity, even when it would be easier to lower yourself. He sees when you refuse to do something that goes against your values simply for convenience. He sees when you prefer to miss an opportunity rather than lose your self-respect. And every time you make these difficult but right choices, he is filled with pride and pours out even more blessings upon you. Something powerful happens when you live with dignity. You teach others to do the same. Your dignified demeanor gives permission for others to reclaim their own worth. Your example of self-respect inspires those who are becoming accustomed to accepting less than they deserve. Your refusal to lower yourself shows the world that it is possible to maintain integrity, even in difficult times. And this multiplying impact is exactly what God intended when He created Leo with such a special characteristic. Leo's dignity is also intimately linked to the ability to forgive without forgetting. Leo can forgive those who have hurt him because he has the greatness of spirit to do so, but he does not forget what happened because he has enough dignity to learn from the experience and establish healthy boundaries. It is not resentment, it is wisdom. It is not eternal bitterness. It is divine protection operating through discernment. And when you understand that you were created to be this living example of dignity, your whole life changes. You stop accepting inadequate treatment. You stop settling for emotional crumbs. You stop putting yourself in situations that wound your soul. And when you make these changes, when you align your life with this spiritual truth, blessings begin to flow in ways you never imagined possible. Truth 8. Leo possesses a heart that loves with divine intensity. The eighth spiritual truth that reveals why God loves Leo so much lies at the heart of everything this sign represents. The extraordinary capacity to love with an intensity that mirrors divine love itself. And when I speak of Leo's love, I'm not talking about a superficial feeling or a fleeting emotion. I'm talking about a deep, committed, transformative love that has the power to change destinies and heal old wounds. Leo was created with an exceptionally large heart. This is not a metaphor, nor is it poetic exaggeration. Spiritually speaking, Leo's capacity to love was amplified by the Creator himself. It's as if God looked at this sign and thought, this one will need an immense heart because they will love many people, care deeply, and give themselves completely in every relationship. And so it was done. Leo's love is total, absolute, and without reservations. When Leo loves someone, whether romantically, as a friend, or as family, they give themselves completely. They place that person in their heart and cherish them with dedication, loyalty, and fierce protection. This kind of intense love is a direct reflection of the love God has for His creatures. Unconditional, unwavering, and eternal. And seeing Leo manifesting this divine love in human form fills the Creator's heart with immense joy. But this intense love also means that Leo feels everything in an amplified way. When they love deeply. When they get hurt, the pain is intense. When they rejoice in the happiness of another, the joy is overflowing. When they need to distance themselves from someone they loved, the suffering is real and profound. God knows this. He knows that He gave Leo a heart that feels everything with the highest intensity, and for that very reason, He cares for that heart with special zeal. There's something very beautiful about Leo love. It's transformative. When you are loved by a genuine Leo, you feel like the most special person in the world. You feel seen, valued, important. Leo love has this power to make people feel unique, to raise others' self-esteem, to make the other person believe in themselves. And this is not manipulation, it's not a learned technique. It's divine love flowing through the Leo heart and touching other souls. God loves to see Leo loving in this way because that's exactly how he loves us. With intensity, with commitment, with faithfulness, even when we don't deserve it. And every time Leo demonstrates this pure and unconditional love for someone, he is being a channel of divine love itself, showing the world what it's like to be loved by God. This is sacred, this is powerful, this is exactly what Leo was created to do. But here's an important truth every Leo needs to learn. Loving intensely doesn't mean losing yourself in the other person. You can love deeply and still maintain your identity. You can give yourself completely and still preserve your healthy boundaries. You can be loyal and still recognize when a love is becoming toxic. Mature Leo love is one that manages to balance intensity with wisdom, passion with discernment. And you know what's most impressive? Even after being hurt, even after being betrayed, even after having their heart broken into 1,000 pieces, Leo manages to love again. They manage to open their heart once more. They manage to believe that true love is still possible. This capacity for renewal in Leo's love is supernatural. It's divine. It's a constant miracle that happens because Leo's heart is directly connected to the inexhaustible source of God's love. There's also the love Leo has for his dreams, his projects, his creations. It's a different kind of love, but equally intense. When Leo falls in love with an idea, a cause, a goal, he gives himself completely. He works tirelessly, sacrifices his comfort, invests his energy without measuring efforts. And this passionate love for what he does is contagious, inspiring, and transformative for all who witness it. God placed this capacity for intense love in Leo because he knew the world would need this kind of love. It would need people willing to give themselves completely, to love without fear, to believe in the transformative power of genuine affection. And every time you love in this way, Leo, every time you open your heart despite the risks, every time you choose to love even knowing you might get hurt, you are fulfilling your divine purpose of being a living example of love that heals, that transforms, that makes eternal. Truth 9. Leo was chosen to manifest divine glory on earth. The ninth and final spiritual truth that explains why God loves Leo so much is perhaps the most profound and impactful of all. Leo was specially chosen to be a living manifestation of divine glory here on earth. And when I say glory, I'm not talking about empty fame or superficial recognition. I'm talking about the spiritual radiance of the Creator himself being reflected through a human soul. From the beginning of creation, God has always wanted to manifest himself in visible and tangible ways to his creatures. He wanted us to be able to see, feel, and experience his presence not only in isolated mystical moments, but in everyday life through real people. And for this, he needed specially prepared souls who could carry this divine radiance without becoming corrupted, without letting the ego take over, without losing their essence in the process. Leo was chosen for this sacred mission. Divine glory manifests itself in Leo in many ways. Through the natural brilliance that this sign emanates even without trying. Through the ability to illuminate environments simply with their presence. Through the creative talent that seems to come from an inexhaustible source. Through the generosity that flows effortlessly. Through the courage that inspires multitudes. Each of these characteristics is not accidental, not merely a personality trait. They are concrete manifestations of God's glory working through a Leo soul. But here's something crucial that every Leo needs to deeply understand. This glory isn't yours, it's borrowed. You are a channel, an instrument, a vessel that carries divine light. The moment you forget this, the moment you begin to believe that the brilliance comes from yourself and not through you, the connection begins to weaken. True Leo glory is that which recognizes its divine source and remains humble before it. God loves to see Leo manifesting his glory because that is what this sign was created for. Every time a Leo steps onto a stage and shines, it's not to show off, but to share a gift. Every time they use their charisma to uplift others, it's not to promote themselves, but to serve. Every time they accept recognition with gratitude, but without arrogance, knowing that everything comes from above. In those moments, divine glory is fully manifested and God's heart is filled with satisfaction. The manifestation of divine glory through Leo has a very specific purpose: to remind humanity of the greatness that exists within each of us. When people see a Leo shining at their full potential, something awakens within them. They begin to think, if he can shine like that, then perhaps I also have a light within me. And this perception is transformative, it is liberating, it is exactly what God intended from the beginning. But manifesting divine glory also comes with enormous responsibilities. Leo needs to constantly purify, renew, and connect with its spiritual source. Because the greater the light you carry, the greater the responsibility to keep it clean and pure. Any shadow in your life is amplified when you are a bearer of light. Therefore, Leo needs to constantly work on its spiritual development, its inner healing, and its alignment with the divine. There are moments in every Leo's life when this divine glory manifests so intensely that it's almost frightening. These are the moments when everything flows perfectly, when you are in your absolute element, when you feel you are fulfilling exactly the purpose for which you were born. These moments are not coincidence. They are glimpses of your true spiritual nature. Instance when the veil between the human and the divine becomes so thin that you can touch your deepest essence. God planted in Leo the seed of spiritual royalty. Not the earthly royalty of titles and crowns, but the inner royalty of one who knows he is a child of the King of the universe. This awareness of spiritual royalty does not make Leo better than others, but it makes him responsible for living according to this divine heritage, for maintaining high standards, for not being content with mediocrity, for always seeking to express the highest and noblest version of himself. And when you fully embrace this truth, when you accept that you were chosen to manifest divine glory on earth, your entire life changes. You stop living small. You stop hiding your brilliance for fear of bothering others. You stop diminishing your gifts to make insecure people feel comfortable. You begin to live in your fullness, respecting the sacred gift you received at birth, honoring the divine choice that made you a bearer of light. If this message resonated with your zodiac sign, trust me, it's no coincidence. When the universe wants to speak to you, it sends exactly the right signal, and you're here because you needed to hear this today. Your contribution as a subscriber or member is what keeps these messages alive. Messages that touch, awaken, and transform lives. And if this video made sense to you, leave your birth date in the comments. We have reached the end of this profound spiritual journey through the 9 truths that reveal why Leo is so beloved by God. And I sincerely hope that you, whether you are a Leo or not, have felt the depth of these words touching your soul. Because what we have shared here today is not just common astrological knowledge. It is spiritual wisdom that can completely transform how you see Leo and, if you are of this sign, how you see yourself. Think of everything we've discovered together. The divine flame of creation that burns in the Leo heart. The infinite generosity that reflects the very heart of God. The leadership from the heart that transforms and uplifts. The unwavering faith that moves mountains. The inner light that dispels darkness. The invincible strength that sustains us in the most difficult moments. The dignity that inspires respect and self-respect. The intense love that heals and transforms. And the divine glory manifested in human form. Each of these truths is a blessing, a gift, a sacred responsibility. If you are a Leo and are listening to this now, I want you to pause for a moment and truly absorb the magnitude of what has been revealed here. You are not just another sign of the zodiac. You are not just an ordinary person trying to survive in this world. You are a chosen one, a bearer of light, a channel of divine love, a living manifestation of the Creator's glory. And with this understanding comes a choice. You can continue living small, hiding your brilliance, doubting your worth. Or you can fully embrace who you truly are, accept the gifts you have received, and take responsibility for manifesting your divine greatness in this world. The choice is yours, always has been and always will be. But know that the entire universe is rooting for you to choose to shine. For those who aren't Leos but have Leos in their lives, I hope you now understand this very special sign better. I hope you realize that Leo's brilliance isn't arrogance. Their generosity isn't an attempt at control. Their intensity isn't unnecessary drama. All of these are manifestations of a soul that was created differently, that was prepared for a greater purpose, that carries immense spiritual responsibilities. I want to extend a special invitation to you who have made it this far. If these words touched your heart, if these truths resonated with something deep within you, don't let that energy be lost. Share this video with the Leos you love. Leave a comment telling us how these revelations impacted you. And if you're not yet subscribed to the channel, subscribe now and turn on notifications, because we have much more transformative spiritual content coming soon. For all the Leos listening, today is the day for you to make a commitment to yourself, a commitment to honor the gifts you have received, to nurture the divine flame that burns within you, to use your strength for good, to always maintain your dignity, to love intensely without fear, to shine without apologizing for it, to be everything that God planned when He created you. And always remember, you are loved by God not despite being a Leo, but precisely because you are a Leo. Every characteristic you possess, every gift you have, every challenge you face, all of this is part of a perfect divine plan. You were created this way intentionally, purposefully, lovingly. And the more you connect with this truth, the more you live in alignment with your spiritual essence, the more blessings flow your way. So go ahead, Leo. Lift that majestic head. Feel the dignity coursing through your veins. Let your heart love intensely. Keep your faith unwavering. Allow your light to shine brightly. Use your strength to protect and uplift. And above all, never forget that you carry within you a part of divine glory. And that is the most precious thing any human being can receive. Thank you for being here, for opening your heart to these spiritual truths, for being part of this incredible community that seeks growth and transformation. We'll see you in the next video, where we'll continue this journey of mystical and spiritual discoveries. Until then, may divine light continue to guide your steps, and may you always feel every day the immense love that God has for you. A huge hug to your heart, and may heavenly blessings multiply in your life.